our friend from the Tampa Bay Times, back here on the Rich Eisen Show, Rick Stroud, joining us here. What's up, Rick Stroud? How are you?
Hey, Rich, I'm doing well. I'll bet you don't have a Norm Bulash autograph. I think that was the first one I remember.
Is that
150 years ago.
That's your first autograph you collected?
As an infant, like somebody brought it home. I was like,
back in the day.
Bulash.
You know,
yeah.
I think, honestly, one of the first autographs I ever got was Neil Simon's, the playwright, because we ran into him outside of a theater once, and I knew who he was because I was a diehard Odd Couple fan, even at age like 8. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's amazing I'm into sports because my dad was only into like Broadway musicals and things like that. It's truly a miracle what I do for a living, to be very honest with you. But anyway, thanks for calling, Rick. Let's get into it. Boy, did you piss people off by saying Blaine Gabbert's the #1 option at quarterback for the Bucs. I saw a lot of the reaction to your reporting on Twitter.
I tend to get that reaction no matter what I say, Rich. It's just, I don't know. This Twitter universe is a mean place, but actually, I didn't say it. Bruce Arians said it to me. This is the thing. I told the site I was going for a bike ride, first one since August, I think.
Yes.
And I had asked Bruce about something, coaching or something like that earlier. And, he just, this latest story, that came out, or this text or tweet or whatever it was on social media about, him and Tom sort of having a bad relationship or things going sour or however it was phrased, really got to him, and we talked about that, and we started talking about quarterbacks. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear, there's this, and a lot of this is fantasy football, right? And we can run down the list, but where they stand right now at quarterback is the only guy on the roster is Kyle Trask, who they like, but he's never played. He had a redshirt year, didn't get a helmet one day out of the 17 regular season games, 2 postseason, and they're probably going to re-sign Blaine for some incentive laden contract. They like Blaine Gabbert, but, run through the list. Russell Wilson, really? Is he going to be traded from the Seattle Seahawks? Is that going to happen? Okay, 3 #1 picks. These guys picked 27th. I don't think he's going to be traded because I don't think Pete Carroll at 70 wants to start over at quarterback unless Russ just really wants out of there. And so they'll check into that. Aaron Rodgers, no, he's not going to be traded to an NFC team, I don't think, if he leaves at all. So the 2 guys we know they are going to be traded, Jimmy Garoppolo, they don't like him. If you ran the ball 40 times, sure, but that's not what they do here. They throw the ball down the field. That's not Garoppolo's strength, or he wouldn't won a Super Bowl by now. And then you have Deshaun Watson. And, from what my information is, at least certainly as it stands today, the Glazer family that own the Bucs, they're just not going to sign off on that one. I always say this, have the press conference, right? What does that look like? And so, maybe that situation changed. Maybe he clears that up. I don't know. But you look at the rest of it, Carson Wentz, they don't think he's an upgrade. More than likely, I think this team will probably end up with Blaine back there and then bring in one of the second-tier type guys, and I don't know if it'll be him, but maybe a Teddy Bridgewater, who will have to compete, and then continue to develop, their young quarterback in Kyle Trask. I mean, if any of this other stuff happens, and look, Philadelphia, I guess, could convince Seattle to get rid of Russell Wilson, and then all of a sudden maybe, there's another quarterback on the market that's young and attractive to them. I don't know, but I just think that they really would get by okay with Blaine, who's been in the system, now since Arizona, and he's not going to excite anybody, but that's just where it stands right now. It's not fantasy football. It's reality.
So I got a name for you, Rick Stroud. Let me bounce this one off you. It's a wild card, wild name, but he is available. What about Jameis Winston coming back? What about that one?
Yeah, I've asked that, and I think I would have picked up a lot more vibe. I will tell you this. There's 2 coaches there that would have him tomorrow. One is Byron Leftwich, who wish he had more than 8 months with him. The other one is Clyde Christensen, his quarterback coach. Both those guys, I think, would be fine with Jameis. And right now Jameis is looking for work, right? So, I know his dad has talked to people and said he'd be fine coming back to Tampa. I don't think Bruce Arians is fine with it. I just, been there, done that. There was a time when they were 7-7 his 1 year here under Bruce, and I thought he was going to make it. He threw for like 460 something 2 games in a row. And then they played Houston, who they absolutely dominated on defense. And then they played Atlanta, and he threw both games away. And I saw on Bruce's face that day that he had reached his limit with Jameis Winston. And I think it'd be really hard. I think, and he may be better than these other guys we're talking about. But at the end of the day, if he goes out there week 1, week 2, throws a pick 6, throws a couple interceptions, what's everybody writing? What's everybody saying? Would he even have a chance here with the fan base? I just don't think that they would go that direction.
Well, then the alternative of Blaine Gabbert, though, and is where I think the blowback comes with is just like, all right, what are the chances he could turn into Brad Johnson, right? Like what are the chances of everything that you just said about, well, Garoppolo, if you run it 40 times, why not? But they don't do that. And Jameis, Bruce has been there, done that. I mean, Gabbert, maybe the issue is he hasn't played in so long, and before that he wasn't any championship caliber quality, and fans in Tampa only know him as the guy who's Brady's tequila sunrise partner to get him home. I mean, so that, you know what I'm saying? Like, how is Gabbert an upgrade over anything that you just kind of shot down, knowing the way that the Bucs have shot him down?
I totally get it. But is he that much? Is he that much different? Right? Is he that much worse? And that's the evaluation that Bruce and those guys have to make. Blaine Gabbert, he's had a history. The record is terrible. He was drafted by not a good Jacksonville team. He had something like 7 or 8 coordinators in that many years. When he did go to Arizona a long time ago, when Bruce was there, he won a couple games over teams with winning records. I think he beat the Colts. He believe he beat somebody else that was decent, and since he's been here, he's 32 years old. He keeps himself in amazing shape. He's got the size, the speed. He's got a cannon for an arm. When he has had to play in mop-up duty, he lit it up fine. Now, understand who he's playing with. This would be the best team he's ever played with in terms of weapons, assuming they franchise or re-sign Godwin. They got Mike Evans. We don't think Gronk is coming back. They're probably going to draft a wide receiver. And they got some holes to fill for sure, both on the offensive line and figure out what they're going to do at running back. But it's still a pretty good football team in a system that he's been in now for a number of years. I'm just telling you what Bruce says, right? This is Bruce's take on him, is that he thinks he's a hell of a lot better than everybody else thinks he is. And maybe Bruce is dead wrong. But he believes that, when you look at the field, right, the guys that are available, or what you'd have to give up to get certain people, or what the owners can stomach, et cetera, maybe you're better off letting him compete, letting Kyle Trask, who they like, go into training camp and compete. And, worst case scenario, somewhere down the road, Kyle Trask is your future quarterback. It's not a good year for the draft. We know that. They're not going to draft a guy. They're picking 27th, so how attractive is that pick to another team? Sure, you could package 2 or 3 years worth of first-rounders and hope. I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying that I think Blaine will be on this team, and I think Trask, and that's where they're starting from. If they can add somebody else, great. Does Baker Mayfield fall out of the pile somewhere along the line? I mean, they're not, no one's, there's just not a lot of quarterbacks. It's not like the year that Tom came out where he was a free agent, he could pick it. And you had Phillip Rivers, and, at that time Bridgewater was 5-0 with New Orleans, and, there were guys that they liked, including Jameis at that time. And now I think it's changed, and you're talking about a different set of circumstances, which, by the way, how many teams need a quarterback? Rich show of hands here. There's about 12 of them, I think.
Mm-hmm. It could be more even. It could be even more. Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times here on the Rich Eisen Show. So we spent the last few minutes throwing out names that might not be Blaine Gabbert as the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come week 1 of 2022. Here's another one. Here's one last one for you. Tom Brady. What about that one? What about that one, Rick?
Well, if they had Blaine and they had Kyle and some second-tier guy was here and we got to August or September even, or, right at the start of the season, and Tom said he wants to play, they're going to absolutely own his rights. Sometime after June 1st, they're going to put him on the reserve retired list. He's going to count $8 million against the cap this year and $24 million against the cap in 2023. And if he wants to play, they believe, this is them talking now, they believe he would play here. because at 45, does he really want to go to another team, learn a new offense, new players, all of that, or they know, or he knows, that the Bucs would do everything they can, mortgage more future, bring in any player he wants, and try to make another run at it. So I'm not saying they're keeping the seat open. They have to proceed as if he's retired, and I sort of believe that he is. But it's always, I think it's going to be a possibility until it's not, right? Until they were to just, make some bold move, whether that was with Watson because the owners were satisfied his problems are behind him. They give up a ton of draft capital for future years. If there's a guy in here that they've spent, a lot of money or picks on, then, Tom's probably out of the picture. And to be honest, if Brady went to them, and there's a theory out there about this, and I don't know if it's true, but if Brady went to them and said, listen, I want to play for this team, not the Bucs, but another team,
mm-hmm.
I think they would be so grateful for what he gave them for 2 years that the Glazer family would not hold him up. They would not say, hey, it's here or nowhere, bud. I watched Rich McKay walk out of here as a GM. One day he was the GM of the Bucs. They let him go to Atlanta, for God's sakes. And a week later, he was the GM of the Falcons playing in Raymond James. And again, it was gratitude for all he had done for them, getting the stadium, all that stuff. So I just know the Glazers. I don't think they would hold Tom up. And we all suspect that would be San Francisco. That would be the place that, he might want to have one last shot at it, his hometown team. But they don't believe that. They believe that if Tom were to change his mind, that he would play here.
And what about the concept of gear grinding that was happening over the last year, right? And I know Arians, and you had very strident quotes from him shooting down that he was gumming up the game plans that Brady was working on with Leftwich at the last moment, or red marking or something like that. I mean, what do you make of whatever was going on behind the scenes that you may be aware of that could discount Brady coming back? What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, the literal, redlining didn't happen for sure, and part of that narrative was that Bruce was working on his Achilles in the morning, and Bruce doesn't work on his Achilles in the morning, so the way this has worked since Bruce got here is that Byron Leftwich runs the offense. I mean, he does all of it. He's in at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Bruce was never going to do scripts. Bruce was never going to do game planning in the sense that you put together the plan for the entire week, et cetera. Now, he gets the game plan. He will look at it. He will tweak it. He will add to it. But he doesn't take things away generally. And as Brady was here, remember they were 7-5. It didn't look like the Bucs offense. They had a big, sort of meeting then, and BA was involved more, and they did some things, with Tom to make it more his offense, which is what we saw this past season. But Brady does the game planning as much as Leftwich does it with him, and so I don't think that's true. And Bruce was emphatic about that part of it. What is possible though, like anybody that has a boss, like you don't always get along with them all the time, right? I mean. And there were things that happened last year that I'm sure upset Brady. I'm sure he didn't like the result, at least, of having Antonio Brown not on this roster. He needed another receiver. Godwin got hurt. The first game that Brown could have come back after the fake Vax card suspension was New Orleans. They lost 9-0. They were down 6-0 until the last minute or so. And within a span of 10 minutes, they lost 3 of their top players. Had Antonio Brown been around for that would have been great. But that was a suspension situation. And then, he does come back. He lights it up one game, 10 catches, 110 yards against Carolina. And the next week, he's mad at Tom. He's mad at everybody at halftime about not getting the ball enough. And then we saw what happened with the shirt off and the whole thing with the Jets. And it was messy. And the biggest thing is it took away a weapon. It hurt them. It hurt Tom. And it was just, there were things like that I'm sure he wasn't pleased with.
But why would that be the fault of the Bucs at all? Like, why would Brady not be happy? It's Antonio Brown's responsibility. Exactly. I mean, whatever was going on with his ankle and, in the last couple of weeks, I mean, if Brady's upset at anything about what happened with Brown, all he's got to do is look to the gram or the tweet or whatever that Brown put out this week about the MRI proving that that he was forced out on the field, and then he deleted it because it was people pointed out it was a year old what he popped up about his MRI. So why would Brady be upset about anything of the way that the Brown situation was handled?
I don't know that he was, other than that Brown was fired, right? Like, he's fired and fired immediately. Like, the first thing Bruce said after the game is he's out of here. And I don't know what other option Bruce had when he refused to play, et cetera.
Took his shoes off.
Again, this is all speculation.
Right.
I don't know what he would be unhappy about. The coaches, I'm telling you, the coaches that work with him every day, work with Brady every day, never heard him come in and, say derogatory things about BA or I can't stand it. That just never happened. So that like I said, do you like everything people do? Could they have been, maybe more attention to detail in practice or the walkthroughs? If anything, Rich, he probably wanted more, right? He always wanted more. Maybe he wanted him to sign Odell Beckham Jr., who was a free agent at the time, and BA said, OBJ, too many initials. Maybe he would have liked to seen them, trade away a 2 and a 3 for Von Miller, who hit him 9 times in that divisional playoff game.
Right.
Tom has made mention that the Rams really went for it, and that's what the Bucs did a year ago. The Bucs just had so many injuries, and if not for some bad play calling and some bad execution at the end against the Rams, they win that game in overtime, and we're talking about another one of the greatest comebacks in playoff history with Tom Brady. So, it's hard to. I don't know where this gets started. I guess it's people around Brady. I mean, but the folks that I know that are around Brady and the folks that are around the Bucs think that this is like kind of a false narrative that he has any bad mojo or vibes about playing in Tampa. It's true the team's going to be different, but they would figure out the cap situation. They would bring as many guys back as they could. They'd draft whoever, get whoever, and I think Tom knows that. So, can we just accept that the guy's going to retire after 22 seasons? I think that's people want to blame somebody for that, and really it's Tom's choice.
For sure, and I hope everything is well between him and the Bucs. Just for the mere fact that if there is a movie called 80 for Brady, we got to get Tom Moore in there in some sort of a cameo, don't you think? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Get Tom Moore
we
in there?
Thought Tom was retired, and it turns out he's just working 9 to 5 with Lily Tomlin.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Jake Parker, Sally Field, and Rita Moreno. Right? I mean,
yeah. Well done.
The other thing is, if his movie career is going anywhere, does he have to play someone besides himself? Is that really acting?
Well, I think it 100% means that he's got the bug. Let's see if he expands the brand a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
you want him to be the next James Bond or something?
I don't know. Let's see what he can do. Tom Wick. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like Tom Wick. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing it out there. We're thinking.
I don't know. We've had 80 for Brady, Man in the Arena. Well, what's next? Man in the Mirror. I mean, the guy. He's got to play someone else. I think he's got to. Maybe he's got to branch out just a little bit, because the next guy that comes to him with, "Hey, I got a great idea.
I know.
We're going to do a story about you, and you're going to play yourself as a quarterback. Which Super Bowl would you like to emulate?
Super Bowl 57 with the 49ers. How does that sound?
Oh, man. Here we go.
Well, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for the call, Rick. Appreciate it, as always.
All right, buddy.
There you go. At NFL Stroud, follow him. I do. Always love our chats with Rick.
I love it.
Super Bowl 57, starring Tom Brady as the 49ers starting quarterback. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.